Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me today because we have some very exciting General Hospital news to talk about, and it's definitely worth the wait. You know, I've been watching General Hospital for more years than I care to admit, and I still get a kick out of how this show can pull you in with the smallest details. Lately, a lot of us longtime fans have been talking about something pretty interesting regarding Carly Corinthos. Let me tell you straight up, it really got my attention. Here's Carly, that strong, fiery woman played so beautifully by Laura Wright, living in that fancy house in Port Charles, and yet it feels like the front door is wide open to just about anybody who wants to walk in. I'm sitting there in my chair some afternoons thinking, well, bless her heart, doesn't this poor woman ever get a moment of real peace and safety? After all, she was married to Sonny Corinthos for a long time, one of the biggest, toughest mob bosses that little town has ever known. Maurice Benard brought that character to life so well that you sometimes forgot he wasn't real. Sonny had enemies everywhere. People he crossed, families he went up against, you name it. You'd think after all those years, Carly would have guards at the door, security cameras, or at least some big tough guys keeping watch so she could sleep easy at night. But no, that doesn't seem to be the case at all. What surprises me the most is how freely people come and go from her place. Friends, enemies, people with grudges, they just stroll right in like they're stopping by for a cup of coffee. I shake my head every time I see it and say to myself, now that just don't make a lick of sense. A woman with Carly's history should have some real protection. She's been through heartbreaks, danger, and more drama than most folks could handle in 3 lifetimes. Yet there she is, vulnerable in her own home. I've been reading comments online, and folks are all over the place about this. Some ladies are genuinely worried about her, saying things like, that girl needs to lock her doors better. Others are frustrated with the writers, wondering why they keep putting her in these risky situations. A few even joke about it, saying Carly's house must have a revolving door. Me, I just feel for her. She's tough as nails on the outside, but even the strongest women need to feel safe where they lay their head at night. It makes me think about real life too. We've all known folks who've been through tough times, maybe a bad marriage or dangerous times, and you just want them to finally catch a break. That's what draws me back to Carly's story. Even though it's just a soap opera, it feels real in moments like these. You can't help but root for her and hope that someday she gets the peace she deserves. Anyway, that's what's been on my mind lately with General Hospital. These little details might seem small, but they sure do stir up a lot of feelings. I'll keep watching, just like the rest of you, and see what happens next with our girl Carly. You know, the more I think about it, the more this whole thing sticks in my mind. I've seen so many fans online talking about it, and some of them are really picking up on the small details that make you scratch your head. One person even commented, doesn't that woman have a gate at the front that needs a code or at least an intercom to let her know someone's coming? She doesn't even have a doorbell on the front door, let alone the back porch. I read that and just chuckled to myself. Because they're right. Here's Carly Corinthos, living in a nice house in Port Charles with all the dangerous history she carries from being married to Sonny, and it looks like her home is about as secure as a corner store. It really makes you wonder, after everything she's been through, the threats, the family feuds, the dangerous people tied to Sonny's old mafia life, you'd expect her to have at least a little protection. But no, folks just wander in and out like they own the place. I sit there watching sometimes and think, good grief, Carly, lock the door once in a while, darling. It worries me a bit, even though I know it's just a show. She deserves to feel safe in her own home after all those stormy years with Sonny. And what's even funnier is that it's not just her house. Like one critic said the other day, it's the same everywhere in Port Charles. Laura's office, Nina's place, Willow's home, Alexis's house, even the big fancy Windermere estate and Sonny's own house. Seems like nobody in that entire town believes in locks or security systems. You could be the biggest mob boss or the mayor, and people would still stroll right into your living room without knocking. I swear, sometimes it feels like every important conversation in Port Charles happens because someone just happened to walk through an unlocked door at the perfect dramatic moment. Now, I get it. This is a daytime soap opera, and if everyone started acting like normal people with alarm systems and no trespassing signs, the show would lose a lot of its spark. A big part of the fun comes from these surprise visits, sudden arguments, and shocking revelations that happen because nobody ever secures their house. If they added real-life security, half the drama would disappear overnight. But still, I have to say, the lack of realism can be a little annoying after a while. It takes me out of the story sometimes. I find myself talking back to the TV like an old fool, saying, come on now, this just doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, though, that's what makes me love General Hospital. It's not perfect, but it pulls at your heartstrings. You get so invested in these characters, especially someone like Carly, who's tough on the outside but has been hurt so many times. You want her to finally have some peace and safety, not live in a house where anyone with a grudge can just walk in. It reminds me of real life in a way. We've all known strong women who've been through tough marriages or dangerous situations, and you just wish someone would look out for them a little better. So, yeah, this little detail about Carly's wide open house has got a lot of us fans chatting and laughing and shaking our heads. It's one of those silly things that somehow makes the show feel more alive. I'll keep watching every day, just like always, rooting for Carly and hoping the writers eventually give her a break or at least a decent deadbolt on that front door. You know, when I sit back and really think about everything that's been happening on General Hospital lately, one thing keeps coming back to me. Carly really needs some real honest-to-goodness protection. Not just the kind where someone shows up for a few scenes and then disappears, but actual steady security that lets her breathe easy in her own home. After all the storms she's weathered, especially because of her long history with Sonny Corinthos, that woman has earned the right to feel safe. It breaks my heart a little watching her walk around that big house, knowing full well that just about anyone can come strolling through the door. She's tough as nails on the outside, but even tough women get tired of always looking over their shoulder. I saw another comment floating around online that really made me pause. Someone wrote about how serious these security issues can be in real life. They mentioned those QAnon protests and how awful it was that innocent people got attacked and even killed right on their own property. The official story, as they told it, was that some unknown attacker shot and killed an FBI agent right there in the front yard. And yet, from what this person said, nobody has ever been properly charged for it, and it doesn't look like anyone bothered to strengthen the security much afterward. They even added, with a touch of dark humor, that the dock area here in Port Charles might actually be safer than some of these real-world homes. Reading that gave me chills because it shows how important feeling protected really is, whether you're living in a soap opera town or right here in our own neighborhoods. That's why I keep hoping the writers are paying close attention to this detail. Carly has been through more than her fair share of pain, danger, and heartbreak. She deserves someone solid, standing beside her, a real bodyguard who knows how to handle trouble, but also respects her strength and independence. Not some flashy guy who's just there for drama, but someone reliable who can finally give her a sense of peace after all these years tied to Sonny's dangerous world. Wouldn't that be something? I can already picture how much richer her story could become if she finally had that layer of protection. It would let her focus more on her family, her business, and maybe even finding some real happiness without constantly worrying about who's about to burst through her front door. Of course, we'll just have to wait and see what the folks in the writing room decide to do. These General Hospital writers have been surprising us for decades, and I've got a strong feeling they've got some exciting twists lined up. Maybe they'll hear what the fans are saying and give Carly the protection she clearly needs. Or maybe they'll keep that door swinging open to create even more drama. You never know with this show. Either way, I'll be right here watching every single day, just like I have for years, cheering for Carly and hoping she finally gets the safety and respect she deserves. General Hospital airs every weekday on ABC. Make sure to check your local listings so you don't miss a single episode. There's always something new happening in Port Charles, and I wouldn't miss it for the world.